Watching the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series in the 2020s is painful. Almost every week it feels like you're watching the richest kids in America try to commit vehicular manslaughter against each other while it's being broadcasted on the sports world equivalent of Nickelodeon. But once upon a time, the Truck Series was truly something special. Instead of being the lowest rung on the ladder to the Cup Series like it is today, back in the day the Truck Series felt like its own beast entirely, filled with the oldest, toughest truckers from across America who would do battle every Friday night. Most of them were veteran short track drivers from across the country, or old-timers like Mike Skinner, Johnny Benson, Todd Bodine, or Ron Hornaday. While some younger drivers did pass through the Truck Series on their way to Busch and Cup, like Carl Edwards and Kevin Harvick, the series was never overrun with young kids. It actually at times felt like the perfect blend between youth and skill and grit and experience. And as a result, the Truck Series would oftentimes feel like the best racing that a weekend had to offer, especially from 2008 onward where NASCAR's new car of tomorrow struggled aerodynamically in the Cup Series, and Cup drivers like Kyle Busch, Clint Bowyer, and Carl Edwards absolutely littered the nationwide series. While the Harvick or Busch would occasionally step down to the Truck Series to put on a clinic, it was far rarer than what was happening in nationwide on a weekly basis. Part of that was just the schedule that the Truck Series used to run. When the Truck Series was conceptualized in 1995, the schedule was initially crafted to focus around short tracks, as many were concerned that these large, bulky trucks wouldn't be able to run at high speeds on traditional intermediates. While there was some crossover with the Cup and Busch schedules on tracks like Bristol, Martinsville, and North Wilkesboro, most of the original truck schedule was ran to places like Louisville, Portland, and Colorado, markets that the other two series wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Even into the 2000s, the Truck Series would be the first to visit tracks like Gateway and Memphis. But as time progressed and NASCAR proved the trucks were capable of running close to 200 miles per hour safely like the other two series, the schedule morphed into what we have today, essentially being a copy and paste of the Cup Series schedule with a few minor alterations like Indianapolis Raceway Park and the Milwaukee Mile. A fairly bland schedule that has all but erased short tracks where the trucks race at best and give Cup drivers far more opportunities to dip down for a free trophy. To NASCAR's credit, at least the 2025 truck schedule has some interesting additions like Rockingham and Lime Rock Park, but it's still a far cry from what the Truck Series was originally envisioned as. But what's fallen even farther from grace than the schedule of the Truck Series today is the caliber of the drivers. As I mentioned earlier, the Truck Series used to be filled with all kinds of seasoned veterans who were as tough as the trucks they drove. And none were tougher than the driver who dominated most of the early Truck Series, Ron Hornaday. With 4 championships and 51 Truck Series wins, this guy is the undisputed Truck Series GOAT. Sorry, Kyle Busch, I'm not counting you. Before becoming a Truck Series driver, Hornaday raced in the Southwest Series. At the series finale at Phoenix in 1992, Hornaday led the point standings heading into the race, when a piece of debris pierced his windshield, breaking Hornaday's right arm and giving the championship lead to Rick Corelli, another driver who would eventually graduate to trucks in the mid-90s. But Corelli crashed in the last lap of the race, handing the title back to Hornaday, who pushed his car through the carnage across the finish line with his broken arm. I mean, this is the stuff you see in a movie about an American hero. This is what a real race car driver looks like. Also, I don't know how he aged backwards from this moment. He looks 30 years older here than he does today. It's kind of shocking. But yeah, the point of the story is to show that Hornaday is not only the Truck Series GOAT, but also he embodied the spirit of the entire Truck Series field. The old guard raced extremely hard, but respectfully. I think they all knew that if they ticked each other off, a single punch could land any of them in the hospital. They all got that old man strength. None of that slapping crap. And despite being old-timers, most of these guys had pretty long histories in the Truck Series. I mean, Matt Crafton is still driving for the same team with the same sponsor that he had 20 years ago. That's just sort of how the Truck Series used to be. It was like a 25-week-long SRX series where drivers who never caught the breaks they wanted in Cup could get together for some good old-fashioned hard racing. But things started to shift around in the early 2010s. The Truck Series was hit particularly hard by the 2008 financial crisis, slicing the series' already small prize pools even smaller and forcing teams to rely more on drivers bringing their own money. If that sounds like foreshadowing to the state of current-day NASCAR, well, that's because it is. The Truck Series was just the first domino to fall. In 2008, Johnny Benson won the Truck Championship and then immediately had to look for a new ride as Bill Davis Racing closed its doors. In 2011, despite putting together another run towards the championship, Kevin Harvick announced that his prestigious truck team KHI would be shutting down at season's end. Just 2 years later, Richard Childress Racing followed suit, pulling out of the Truck Series entirely. 2013 in particular felt like the point of no return for the Truck Series. All the old timers like Hornaday, Bodine, and Skinner were all but gone. Most of the Truck Series longtime organizations had shut down, and perhaps the last pillar of the Truck Series also fell, the Speed Channel. I can't overstate just how important Speed was to the Truck Series. Speed gave the Truck Series more in-depth coverage in one weekend than FS1 does in an entire season. I recently saw this one clip of the trucks from Las Vegas in 2008 on Twitter, and I'll let you watch it and see just how different it is from today's broadcast.
Here comes Darnell back on the inside. We will have one lap to determine this one tonight. The white flag in the air. Skinner, Darnell across the start-finish line.
Looked like Ben got a nice run off that corner, but it's not going to be enough. There's the bumper. And way up the hill he goes.
Here comes Eric Darnell. He charges to the outside. Coming out of turn number 4, side by side. Who's going to win it? It is going to be Mike Skinner. Skinner will win it over Eric Darnell.
Dang, is it just me, or did Rick Allen sound 10 times more excited commentating trucks than he ever did in Cup? But yeah, the truck broadcasts used to be so much more fun than they are now. The colorful cast of characters they had both in the booth and on pit road was unmatched. They would do all kinds of bits like dressing up for the Halloween races. I felt like I got to watch more racing, the commercials. Overall, it was just a good time. Now I accept that I'll never get to watch truck practice or qualifying ever again, as most of the time it's not even televised. Anyway, Speed Channel tangent aside, let's return to the drivers. Also, hey, if you're enjoying this video, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. We are really close to 10,000 subscribers on this channel, and most people watching aren't subscribed, so go ahead and do it. It's free. Around 2013, you definitely saw some new blood in the series, and thankfully, these guys actually ended up being pretty decent. Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, these names ring any bells for you guys? Sure, they weren't as bold or outspoken as some of the old veterans, but it was at least fun to follow guys who you knew at least had a chance to rise through the ranks. In 2014, we also saw the rise of Brad Keselowski Racing, which somewhat filled the void left behind by teams like KHI and RCR bowing out. This was pretty much the first team in years who could compete with Kyle Busch Motorsports, who was quickly turning into a Truck Series monopoly. And with guys like Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe, Blaney, and others all coming through this program, it's safe to say that this team was pretty successful. Well, except financially, as Brad Keselowski revealed that the organization bled more than $1 million a year even when putting up fantastic results on the racetrack, leading to its shutdown only 3 years later. And really, the collapse of BKR seemed like the final straw for the Truck Series. The series once again reverted to being dominated by Kyle Busch Motorsports until 2022. Most young, talented drivers just started skipping trucks entirely and going to Xfinity, and the trucks gradually became more and more aero-dependent over time, leading to less competitive racing. Even while still being an owner in the Truck Series, only a couple of years ago, Kyle Busch publicly stated that the Truck Series was just 90% kids with money. Kids who have no respect for one another. They crash each other for wins and championships, and they face largely no repercussions because their dad is a CEO somewhere writing $1 million check. There's a couple exceptions like Grant Enfinger or Stuart Friesen who embody the old Truck Series mentality, but guys like this are few and far between. Oh, and of course Norm Benning, we can't forget about him. And when it comes to the young guys, who aside from Corey Heim right now really looks like a future superstar in the making? Maybe Nick Sanchez or Raja Karuth, but I can't really tell if these guys are actually good or just being hyped up by the media and top tier equipment. I don't know, man. I'm not sold on these kids yet. Also, can we talk about how NASCAR's gimmicks that barely work at the top level are even worse for the Truck Series? Stage racing has no place in the Truck Series, with it already being littered with cautions from kids who just got out of driver's ed. And Dale Jr. has even said that it's the sole reason he'll never race a truck. There's no opportunity for a green flag run to properly develop. And the playoffs? Don't get me started. We end the regular season in July, 2 full months before the other playoffs start. Then we eliminate 2 drivers in the first round, but then 4 in the second? Why not just 3 and 3? This makes no sense. Talladega and Martinsville are in the round of 8. That's just ridiculous. I want to give them credit for at least starting the playoffs at Darlington next year like the Cup Series does, but they added the Roval to the round of 8. It's literally 3 wildcard tracks. We may as well spin the wheel to find out who makes the final 4. It just feels like any problem that the upper 3 series have, whether it's pay drivers, stage racing, playoffs, or Fox's bad broadcasts, are amplified by 10 in the Truck Series. So, I just wanted to make this video to remind everybody that there was a time when the Truck Series was truly awesome. Because it may be hard for fans to comprehend based on what we've seen over the past few years, but for the first 15 to 18 years of the Truck series, it was genuinely cool. But hey, be sure to let me know what your thoughts are on the Craftsman Truck series in the comment section down below, but don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more videos just like this one, and check out dailydownforce.com for more awesome NASCAR content.